Can I talk about OCD now? Because
Sure.
that's the last part. Yeah. So you talked about lot of it, but I just want to focus on like that one part where you talk about shifting the focus of your experience. Like you have this compulsions to focus on the compulsions, like whatever the thoughts are happening, because you can't let go of those thoughts
Yeah.
that'll be happening. So you're always shifting the focus towards the thoughts, and oh, I need to figure out the way. Why am I not suffering? Or why I should focus on my thoughts. I should uh, focus on whatever it is. So another thing is you talk about letting go, and okay, letting go means letting go of that whatever the tension you're feeling there. But you also talk about shifting the focus, like so you talk about focusing on your body parts, focusing, scanning your body, and also shifting on other things. So it was actually helpful for me, not to a very large extent, but when I think about okay, I can let go, or I can shift my focus to other things. I don't know, something might happen, and I usually like really let go of that feelings, and there's no suffering at all sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
80,
Yeah.
80 to 90% of the times. Another before that, when I didn't have that information, I used to always fight with those thoughts. So I
Yeah.
need to focus on the compulsions, or why am I not focusing on my thoughts? I need to focus on them, and I can't let go of them. When I
Yeah.
got the information that I can shift the focus at least 80 to 90%, I still have that 10% of that anxiety. That's there. That's
Sure. Yeah.
so. I just need more information about like shifting the focus. What do you
Yeah.
mean? How can I like let whatever is happening in me, and let whatever compulsions happening, let them be there, and how can I shift my focus? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so my experience has been that the so okay, I'll give you a specific example. So, and I know it's not the same. It's not the same specifics as your experience, but I think you'll be able to relate to it. So one of the biggest concerns that I used to have would be thinking of certain things that were forbidden. So, for example, McDonald's. It was one of my rules. I was forbidden to think of McDonald's.
Okay.
So when I would think of McDonald's, of course, since it was forbidden, I would think of it many times every day.
Like you thought that was forbidden to think of like McDonald's? That's just your
Yeah, for me, yeah. I mean, I just I was afraid of it, so I had a rule for myself that I should not think of it.
okay.
And so if I thought of it, which I would many times each day, then I would feel that I had to wash my hands in order to cancel it out. So I felt I had to wash my hands and then count to a certain number. The number would change over time, but let's say 12. So I have to wash my hands and rub my hands together 12 times.
Okay.
Okay. So this was so that what I noticed is when I would try not to wash my hands and count to 12, that I would have a feeling that was very intense, like a lot of pressure building up inside of me.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't restrain myself from washing my hands and counting to 12 for very long. I could maybe do it for a minute, and then I would feel overwhelmed. So what I started to pay attention to was this pressure, this sensation of it's the compulsion that I must wash my hands. How do I create that? Because it must be me creating it, right? I mean, if nobody's doing it to me, all that happens is I think a thought, and then all of a sudden So I must be doing it. So I started to pay attention. How am I doing it? And what I noticed was that I was trying that compulsion, that pressure was building up because I was trying to contain or manage this big feeling. And it was, so what I started to do is experiment with not doing that. So for me, I could notice that focusing on thoughts a lot,
Mm-hmm.
even focusing on the thought, I need to wash my hands, I need to wash my hands, I need to wash my hands, I need to wash my hands. I can't stand the feeling I have to wash my hands. Don't think of McDonald's, don't think of McDonald's, don't think of McDonald's. So that focus was a way in which I was trying to control the feeling.
Okay.
And that focus, it's like what we were talking about earlier. There's an effort necessary to do that. So I started to just take a look at how do I do that focus? How do I make that effort? And can I relax that? And what I noticed was that for me, and I'm not saying this was true for you, but what I found for me was that there's a kind of subtle tension inside of my head
Mm-hmm.
that I have to use in order to focus on the thoughts. And if I relax that tension, then the thoughts just happen. And for me, the thoughts would happen really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And my head would feel like it was racing.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole body would start to buzz a little bit, and it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what I had been trying to control by focusing, because by focusing and using that kind of effort, that tension, it was as if I could contain and slow everything down.
So
And when I would,
can I stop? Like I want to ask, like you talked about focusing, right? Can you please repeat again, like what type of focus you're like? You like how did you focus on that thoughts? Like
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, rather, so again, the way that I focused on thoughts was by uh, through a subtle kind of tension in my head.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I experience it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know how you experience it, but I'm having spoken with quite a few people who've struggled with OCD. It seems to be a very common thing that the obsession and the compulsion both serve as a way to try to uh, control something or contain something. And so, and it always seems to involve some kind of effort. So I don't know how you experience it, but maybe you could just look right now and see, look at your own experience.
I I don't feel like a lot of tension in my body. Like I can
Mhm.
feel subtly.
Yeah, yeah,
Might be really subtle. I might not observe it a lot, but like usually when I'm like in my, for example, if I'm walking down the road, there is something happened, a bus came, or I can feel a lot of tension in my body, in my legs or in my ankles, and I don't feel
yeah.
that when I'm having these obsessions or intrusive thoughts. So,
Okay.
so that's why it's very tough for me to really like get aware of where the tension
Yeah.
is.
Well, tell me where. So you know you have the experience, right?
Yeah, I
You have the obsession.
yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. The main thing is why am I not why am I not observing? Why am I not
Yeah.
focusing on it? I need to
Yeah.
focus on those thoughts. So when I focus on those thoughts, I try to solve those those thoughts. So
That's right. That's
first
right.
step is
So
why am I not focusing? The second step is where everything gets mad. I get a lot anxious. So when I get into
yeah.
solving those problems, I get mad. First step is just why am I not focusing on it? I think that's the tension you're talking about. Why am I
Yeah,
not
yeah. So that's right. So let's just look at that. So where do you experience that?
in my body?
Yeah.
Uh, I try to. like I tried a lot to understand this. I'm really sorry. I couldn't have the answer. I'm,
Okay.
I,
I mean,
I honestly, like, I can feel a sense of uh, dropping sensation in my legs. I've actually told that you before. Whenever I
yeah.
have those thoughts, I feel something is going down, and I was. That's what anxiety is. So I don't know. But
Yeah. Well, so, but what's interesting to me is that when you talk about, you say, when I have those thoughts, you do this. You say, when I have those thoughts, you point to your head. When I have those thoughts. So are you not experiencing the thoughts as though they're in your head?
sure, yeah. Now they're circling in my head. Yeah, sure.
Good. So that's all I mean when I say where is it? It's the thoughts. You're experiencing them in your head.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So pay attention to the different qualities of the experience. So you just allow those thoughts to be there. Whatever thoughts are in your head right now, just allow them to be there.
hmm,
Thoughts are happening, right?
yeah,
Okay. So then notice that you can choose to pay attention to those thoughts in different ways. So there you can just allow the thoughts, which is this kind of open focus where you're not grabbing them, you're not doing anything with them. They happen, they go by. You don't, that's it. You don't do anything with them. Can you experience that? Thoughts just happen.
thoughts just yeah, they do happen. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
okay,
I don't put an effort into that. Yeah, surely.
that's right. Now there's another way that you can do it, a different quality, which is that you can try to focus on the thought and solve it.
Yeah, that's what I've been
So
doing a lot.
that's right. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So notice the difference. Switch between the two, and just notice the difference. Notice how you do each. So first, open focus. Don't do anything with the thoughts. Just be relaxed in your head, and the thoughts are there, and you don't try to do anything or focus on any of them. They're just there.
Mhm.
And now try to focus on a thought. Try to solve it. Do something with it. Chase it around. Try to grab it. Pin it down. Resolve it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort. Yeah,
Good.
second one.
So just that's all I'm really saying is that's it. That's the effort is the tension that I'm talking about. It's subtle.
What if the thought says, okay, I need to like do something about it, or I know this is really subjective, but in my experience, I have a lot of like mental compulsions, not physically. I might not
Yeah, sure.
wash my hands, or uh,
Yeah,
do a lot of that, but mentally there are a lot of compulsions. I don't know if we can like reveal it here, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know. Yeah, sure.
So mentally I have like 10 to 20 types of compulsions running around at the same time. So it one thing or the other comes up, and I don't know, I have to be in a situation where I have to focus on those, and if I don't do that, I don't know, because
Yeah, well,
I don't know
that's
the
the
solution.
key.
I don't know the
That
solution.
that's right. And so what you just said, if you don't focus on those, you say, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
what you said. If I don't focus on those, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're always trying to focus on them. That's the nature of the compulsion, is that it says its claim is focus on me, solve me, because I'm going to solve this problem. And then what's the problem? Well, the problem is that if you don't focus on the compulsion, I don't know.
Okay.
Right? If I don't focus on the compulsion, I don't know. But the sense is that I don't know is something scary. For me, I don't know. I mean, it would, if I would try, like I said, to restrain myself from washing my hands and counting to 12, then this feeling would build up and the pressure would build up, and the I don't know became terrifying,
Mhm.
right? It was a sense of, if I don't do something, if I don't indulge this compulsion, if I don't focus on it, if I don't obsess, to me, the obsession and the compulsion are the same thing. They're both just the focus, your attention just goes to whatever it is, and it's a way of trying to distract from this feeling that's unwanted. It's the feeling of I don't know, and it's scary. Something bad might happen, and it's scary. And so the compulsions, that's their nature, is they're going to continue to say, pay attention to us, focus on us, we're going to solve the problem, and if you don't, something bad will happen. And after how, I mean, it's been years now, right?
Yeah.
So after years, you've been, after these years, you've been doing this, and it hasn't solved the problem. So what I'm saying is, it's time, I think, I mean, I hope, at least, it's time for you just to look and be willing to allow this feeling without fighting with it. Because when there's a difference, again, when I would try to restrain myself and say, don't wash your hands, don't count to 12, I was using more effort to restrain the effort. So I was making 2 efforts now.
Can you repeat that again? I didn't get that.
Yeah, okay. So I was making the effort, the usual effort of focusing on the problem, trying to solve it. Then I started using more effort to restrain myself from doing the hand washing and the counting.
Okay.
So I was using more effort now. I was using twice the effort. So that won't work. But what you can do is you can start to see the effort that you're making and start to relax that effort. So the effort is, like I said, it's the focus on the thoughts. So focus on the compulsion. And they just keep saying, yeah, but keep paying attention to me. Focus on me, because if you don't, something worse will happen. But the only thing I know to do is just to be willing to relax that effort, allow the compulsions, even though there's all this fear, allow the fear without trying to do anything about it. Just continue to relax the effort. And what I've experienced as a result of that is that I see things much more clearly, and I don't have the same urgency, and I don't, to some extent, even the obsessions and the compulsions have reduced because I've had the direct experience repeatedly of there isn't actually a problem. I don't actually need to solve it, and these obsessions and compulsions are not needed. So, but I never was able to achieve that through fighting with it. I've only been able to achieve that by doing nothing, which is the scariest thing.
Yeah.
But in doing that, I've gotten to discover that's all that's happening is, I mean, it's obvious to anybody else, right? Anybody else who, like, if you imagine that you're somebody else looking at you having your suffering, you know what they would see, right? I mean, they would just see as a guy who's having some experience, as a guy who's having some thoughts and some feelings and some sensations, and there's no real problem. That's why other people who've never had OCD, you talk to them and they say, what's the problem? Just stop, right? So you know, if you were looking at you from the outside, that's what you would see. But when you have the experience, it's the fear that you're trying to run away from. You're trying to get rid of the fear, and it's understandable because fear prompts us to get away. But in this case, what we have to do is be willing just to take a look directly at what's happening and to experience it without indulging the compulsion. So you just relax all that effort. Imagine you know, when it's happening, have you ever been really tired? Maybe, you know, it's that time between waking and sleeping where you're not fully awake and not fully asleep. You're conscious, but you're almost asleep,
Yeah, yeah,
and you can't make any effort. You're so relaxed. It's very nice, and
yeah,
you just can't do anything.
yeah,
And if thoughts happen, they just drift by, and you can't even make the effort to grab onto them. It's not worth it. It's so relaxing just to do nothing. Should be like that when the fear is there,
hmm,
so that you're so relaxed that you can't even make the effort, so that there's relaxation and fear at the same time.
hmm,
And if you do that, then what happens is you get to discover directly in your own felt experience what other people would see, which is it's just some feelings. That's all that's happening.
hmm,
That's it. And there's no real danger. So there's no need to try to solve the problem because there isn't one. But as long as you focus on the thoughts, you don't give yourself that opportunity. That's the thing. So it's because you focus on the thoughts are all about solving the problem.
hmm,
So all you're doing is reinforcing the sense that there is a problem. So the next time it happens, again, you're going to focus on the thoughts because you'll be convinced at a very subconscious level there is a problem. I have to solve the problem. It's dangerous. I'm afraid. Focus on the thoughts, even though you know the thoughts are not useful, right? I mean, so it's the fear and your unwillingness to allow the fear, which is understandable, but it's that's what it is that keeps this vicious cycle going. So I believe that if you start to practice just recognizing the compulsion can't help you, the focus on the thought can't help you, relax that, make no effort at all.
hmm,
The thoughts are just there. You don't make any effort to get rid of them or to focus on them, nothing. If you do that, you'll notice there's fear, there's this discomfort in the body, there's a heightened intensity of experience, and you just allow all of that too. Then you're you allow, through allowing all of that, you get to discover directly, your body gets to discover this is okay, it's safe, I don't have to try to protect myself.
hmm. Yeah, it's kind of a whole new world for me. It's very
Yeah, I know.
it's very uncomfortable. It's very confusing, but I can try. I'll try to. I know you talk about process a lot. Uh, that's what you've learned over years, but I know it's not a 1 day or 1 second process. I'll try to manage. It's
If you
still though I'm still feeling those uncomfortable and still feeling those compulsions, but it's what I can say is I know that at least I'm aware of okay what they're doing. I know that the focus I'm putting into that is the suffering. So at least I'm aware of that. So that's at least that is reduced. But I'm still focused on that. I know that takes a little process, but at least the awareness that the focus itself is the suffering is letting me like in peace. At least
yeah,
50% of suffering is reduced. That's what I can say.
that's wonderful. Yeah. And for me, one thing that was helpful, a kind of helpful image, was to have the sense of myself falling, because I've always felt as you know, it's like falling, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? I mean, if you're falling,
Yeah.
But it's like we spend all of our lives falling, and we're clinging to everything else that's falling. You know, so there's a rock that's falling, and we grab onto the rock, and we think this is going to save me. But all we're doing is just using all of this effort. So see what happens if you can allow yourself to just fall without grabbing anything.
Okay.
Because that's kind of, to me at least, that's been the fear, is the same kind of fear as falling. There's nothing I can do.
Like what I completely understand what you're telling, but it's completely unknown. It's unknown territory for me to just you know what I'm talking about, right? It's completely, it's mind is blank when you talk about just whatever is happening, just you can't do anything about it, but it's completely blank. I know that's what you're aiming for. That's what you're aiming for, is just that unknown state of, like, if you are trying to know something, that's what is suffering you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And you also say that actually the unknown is right, because you can't know each and everything. It's actually impossible to know everything. Actually, if you're in the state of unknown, that's actually what it's humanly impossible to know everything, to solve everything. If you are in that unknown, at least you know that it's unknown, and not try to, like, put effort into, like, knowing what's happening. That's what I
Yeah. Well, and again, the main point being, when that applies to your own experience, because that's what we really struggle with, right? I mean, that's what I've always struggled with is, oh no, here's this feeling. I don't want this feeling. I've got to figure it out. I need to know what it is. Where did it come from? How do I solve it? What do I do? Think. Focus. And that was the suffering. So to be willing just to tell the truth, which is, I don't know. I don't know what it is, where it came from, where it will go, what it means. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. And I have apparently no ability to figure that out, or to do anything about it. Because I spent, in my case, about 20 to 25 years trying to solve that problem. I'm not the smartest person on the planet, but I'm reasonably intelligent, and I couldn't solve the problem. So what are the chances that I would solve the problem if I continued trying to solve it? And not very good. So I just decided, well, I'm going to try the opposite. I'm going to try not doing anything about it, taking my hands off entirely, giving my head a break, just, all the tension all the time in my head, always trying to figure it out. It was very unpleasant. And then I just started to experiment with just let that go, and found out actually my experience is it's not really different than what it was before, with the one exception. Is I'm not fighting with it.
Okay.
I'm still falling, the same as I've always been falling. It's still totally out of control. I don't have the ability to control my life, but I just am not now fighting all the time and saying, no, stop falling. And to me, that's a huge relief. It's so much nicer.
Is it okay to do compulsions once and for a while? Because you can't. That's just.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, of course.
If it feels good, at least.
just all I say is just pay attention to what's happening. That's all. Just pay attention to what's happening before the compulsion, during the compulsion, after the compulsion. Because as you become aware of it, you start to see what's happening, and then you start to realize it's like when I started to see what was happening, it started to dissolve on its own. So did I still wash my hands sometimes? Yeah, I still do.
Okay.
People wash their hands, right? I mean, now sometimes I wonder, do I need to be washing my hands? I don't know.
Hmm.
But I don't, it's just like I was chopping food, and then I wondered, do I need to wash my hands? I don't know. I'm gonna wash my hands. Is it a compulsion? Maybe. Like, life seems to be filled with compulsions. I get hungry, I eat, so there's a compulsion there. But it's just a matter of seeing where there's suffering in it, and in seeing that, the suffering starts to dissolve, because when I started to see that I was washing my hands, trying to get rid of a feeling, it just started to fall apart, because I could see it wasn't necessary. It wasn't going to work. I wasn't analyzing it, right? I wasn't struggling with it. I wasn't judging myself. I was just looking at what's actually happening, and I started to pay attention, and I noticed, okay, something happened. Here's a feeling. I don't like this feeling. It's uncomfortable. I want to get rid of the feeling. Ooh, look, there's a pressure building. Then I start thinking about it. Now I'm going to feel that I need to wash my hands. Then I wash my hands. I count to 12. I can feel the pressure starting to be relieved. But now there's another anxiety. Will I feel that I need to wash my hands again? McDonald's. Oh, now I have to wash my hands again. Pressure building, pressure building. Okay, I got to wash my hands. But it's just by watching it, I could see everything that was going on, and I just started to realize it's like you're hitting yourself with a hammer every day, and it hurts. When you start to pay attention and realize, I'm hitting myself with a hammer, maybe you hit yourself with the hammer less, because you just naturally, right? Just because you become aware, you say, I don't need to hit myself with a hammer. This hurts. It's the same. I'm watching myself doing this, watching myself resisting the feeling, pressure building, washing my hands, realizing this hurts, and it's not necessary. Washing my hands won't get rid of the feeling. And the feeling isn't a problem in the first place. So when I started to discover that, it resolved on its own. And I think if you do the same, my guess is that you'll have the same experience just by becoming aware of it